next up, I want to teach you some of the terms or the different types of investors that you guys are going to run into. So first is what's known as a bird dog. A bird dog is somebody who's usually just getting started in the game. They don't have money. They just have a whole lot of energy. So they've got sweat equity, but they don't have check equity. These people tend to do what's called D for D, driving for dollars. Literally, they just drive around, look for vacant houses, find something that's beat up, and then they'll track the owner down, see if the owner's open to selling. And if the owner's open to selling, they'll find a number, and then they will bring an investor into a deal. So now they'll go and they'll say, hey, Cody, I got this deal. You can pick it up at 800, put 200 into it. ARV is 1.2. Are you interested? Cody like, yeah, I'm interested. Cool. He collects a bird dog fee and then inserts that investor into the deal. So they never actually go on the contract. It's like a finder's fee, effectively. So these people tend to have no money. You can identify a bird dog by asking them, are you going to be the investor or are you working for another investor? Can you provide me with proof of funds? They can't. They don't have proof of funds because they're not the actual investor. They are just somebody who's out there hustling, trying to find deals. When they find a deal, they'll find an investor, they'll pair them together. Bless you. They're risking none of their own money, but they're also going to make very little money. A fee on a bird dog deal, usually $1,000 to $10,000.
Prairie dog.
Yeah, Mike calls it a prairie dog for him, so.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Is this the same as wholesaling?
No, wholesaling is next. So they are using $0 of their own money. So it's going to be a little different than wholesaling. They are just finding a deal, finding an investor, putting the two together, and getting a finder's fee or a bird dog fee for that. Other questions? Okay, so next up is a wholesaler. So the difference between a wholesaler and a bird dog is the wholesaler will actually tie the property up. They will actually put the property under contract. So they will negotiate the deal, they will complete the contract, they will put a deposit into escrow. They will then shop that deal to find somebody to wholesale the property to. So they'll typically write the offer as Kyle Whissel or assignee. So they're building in an or assignee clause. If somebody ever sends you a contract or a RPA that says whatever name or company or assignee, they're basically telling you, I am not actually going to buy this home. I'm tying this home up and then I'm going to shop it and I'm going to find an end investor who's going to buy it from me, and I will collect a wholesale fee or more specifically an assignment fee. Assignment fees, there's no rule, but it's going to be more. So typically 10, I've assigned a deal, I've made $100,000 on wholesaling a property here in North Park. Yeah, it was insane. I tied it up for $350 and then the foundation, and 2 units in North Park, crazy, right? Now I'm sounding really old. But I tied it up for $350. It was only like 5 or 6 years ago, wasn't that? But dude, this thing was like falling down the hill. Like it was crazy falling down the hill, and it was a bank-owned property, and I told him like, I don't want this thing anymore, but if you come down 100 grand, I'll buy it. And so I bought it for $250, and then I wholesaled it to somebody for $350. I made $100,000 and I didn't have to touch the property. So there's not really a limit. I mean, that could be anything. If you can tie up a deal, it's as much as you can make on a wholesale fee. So there's companies in town. There's a company called, what's that?
Some guys make 400.
On luxury, yeah. So there's a company called Net Worth Realty in San Diego. Like that's all they do is they have a bunch of guys, which effectively they have bird dogs that are part of their team that go and try to find deals. And then when they find a deal, they bring it to the owner of Net Worth, who's a wholesaler who ties the property up. So then he pays his guys a little fee. And then the guy that runs Net Worth, which I haven't gotten many of their deals lately, there's another company called Sunday. They tie the property up as a wholesaler, and then they send it out to their investor list and say, hey, we have this property tied up. Here's our price. Here's the rehab budget. Here's the ARV. And usually the good ones like Net Worth and Sunday, and Sunday's SUNDAE, they will literally post it with like a Matterport tour, a floor plan, a contractor bid. Like they'll give you everything so that you know what the options are. And then they'll put it out there. They'll accept numbers until a certain date, and they'll pick whatever the highest one is. But if they put it out there and nobody jumps on it, they'll just cancel the transaction because they can't make any money on it. So just be cautious if you're working with somebody. If you have a listing and you get an offer that says or assignee, they're not trying to buy your property. They're going to tie it up and try to flip it over to somebody else. There's actually a form called an assignment of contract form. I don't remember the acronym, but there's actually a form for assigning that contract over where it says, I, Kyle Whissel, assign this contract to Tom Chapman for this much assignment fee. And then I get paid through escrow. There's other ways that wholesale deals work too, where you can do a double escrow where you have two escrows going simultaneously and the purchase closes one day and the sale closes the next day or even simultaneously. There's a lot of different ways to structure wholesale deals. I did one out in the middle of Del Zura where I had a property tied up. This guy hit me up that wanted it. We agreed to like a $40,000 assignment fee. I added his name on the contract. He put all the money into escrow. We closed it. And then he had to pay me $40,000 to take my name off of it, because the bank wouldn't allow me to assign the contract, but they would allow me to add somebody to the contract. So I had my LLC and I added his LLC or S Corp on there. So we had both of our entities, closed it in both of our entities, and then he paid me 40 grand and I signed a deed and deeded myself off the property. So it was like a workaround to wholesale a property that I couldn't assign over. So there's a lot of tricky ways to do these wholesale deals. Next up, any questions on wholesalers?
I've heard this, but it sounds like from what you said that this isn't true. But can you wholesale with your real estate license? Or are you
Yes.
not allowed to? You can? Okay. I don't know. Someone told me that you couldn't, but that's wrong, I guess.
A lot of investors intentionally don't have their real estate license because there's a lot of fiduciary responsibility and ethics and stuff that are involved that come into question. So most real estate people like to be after the wholesaler, because having some of these conversations, telling somebody that it's in their best interest to do a deal when you know you're just going to transfer it to somebody else and make a fee, it's questionable how ethical that is. So a lot of real estate agents try to catch deals post, like from wholesalers, as opposed to being a wholesaler, because it gets a little sticky.
So typically, like when they're trying to do like a wholesale or something like that, how long are they submitting an offer for the escrow? And I remember yesterday when we were talking, a lot of the times they're not like doing inspections because they kind of go inspect the place themselves. But what type of due diligence are they doing in that time frame while they're trying to find somebody to assign that to?
So the big wholesalers, when they put the deal under contract, again, they'll do a Matterport, they'll have their contractor, they'll provide all of these reports. So ideally, the people who are the end buyers don't have to actually come in and even see the house. They're literally writing offers based on the Matterport, the floor plan, the bid, everything. And they do home inspections too. Like they knock all that stuff out in a single day so that now 90% of the questions are answered for potential investors. But small wholesalers, they'll tie the deal up and they'll have like a 5-day, 10-day contingency period on it, and that's when they're shopping the property for those 5 or 10 days to ultimately find somebody to wholesale the property over to. But again, when you're flipping, the less contingencies you have, the higher probability you're going to have of getting your offer accepted, especially at a lower price. Any other wholesaler questions? So again, these guys typically do have money, but they have no intention of actually closing on these properties. And sometimes they'll put it out as a wholesale deal, see if they can make money. If nobody takes it as a wholesale deal, they'll still buy it themselves and flip it. But some people strictly wholesale, nothing else. So if they don't find somebody during that contingency period, they kill the deal and move on to the next one. Questions? No? Okay. Next up, you'll have JVs. So JV deals, so Kevin did a JV deal. So he did a deal where he put all the sweat equity in and he found a project, he tied a project up, he had the funds to do the deal, but he also had a contractor who wanted to be a part of the deal. So the contractor came in, they fit the bill for all of the expenses and did all of the construction on the project. KP came in when the deal was done and did the real estate side of the project. They joint ventured on that deal or partnered on that deal. They made their own arrangement of how they were going to split their funds up and did a deal that way. So sometimes they'll have that where you might have the contractors calling and they let you know like, oh, I have a joint venture partner. I have somebody that I'm going to partner with on the deal. So one person is the sweat equity person, one person's the check equity person. You'll find joint venture deals. Give this man some paper. So you'll find JV deals out there. It tends to be, I've done JV deals too. I've tied deals up and then I realized like, shit, I have better uses for this money. So I've had the deal tied up and then I've gone to people who have money and said, hey, I have this deal tied up. Do you want to partner with me on it? We'll split the proceeds 50-50. So I found the deal. I'll find the contractors. I'll manage them. I'll sell it. I just need your money. But I'm putting $0 of my own money into the deal. And then when all's said and done, I take half the money, they take half the money. That's another form of a joint venture. So there's a lot of different ways to JV. Those are the two most common. Any questions on that? No? Okay. And then, yeah, go ahead.
So essentially, the JV is just doing the legwork, and they're finding partnerships for the money.
So the question was on a JV deal. There's so many different ways that people JV. You just want to find out who you're talking to and what their role is in the process. Are they the sweat equity partner? Are they the check equity partner? Are they the contractor? Like, who are they in the equation? Just make sure that you understand who you're talking to and what their role is. Are they the decision maker? Or are they just out trying to find the deal and then they'll connect you with the decision maker? So you just want to kind of find out where they're at and what their role is in the JV. And then last up, you just have an actual flipper. This is the person who's actually doing the deal. So flippers, they are going to a lot of times find the deal themselves. They're going to use their money to tie the deal up. They're going to close the deal. They're going to do everything themselves. Sometimes a flipper will start up here. Sometimes they'll start here. Sometimes they'll start here, or sometimes they'll do the entire thing, just depending on the transaction. I've done a ton of deals where I found them myself, where I've just gone on a listing appointment and they're like, hey, if we get this number, we sell. Okay, cool, you got this number, thank you, I'll buy your house. I've done deals where I've had bird dogs, I've bought from wholesalers, I've done JV deals, like I've done all of these. So a true flipper though, they'll have proof of funds, they'll have zero hesitation to send you proof of funds, it's not a big deal for them. If you're talking to somebody who wants to flip properties and you ask for proof of funds and they get squirrely, that's a very clear indication they're not here. They could be here, but if they can't give you proof of funds, they're probably bird dogging a deal. Not necessarily the highest and best use of your time to work with somebody who can't provide proof of funds. So some of the things that I like to ask investors for is, can you provide proof of funds? Because if I find you a deal, I need to have that on hand so I can write an offer on the spot. I don't want to have to track you down, find your proof of funds, because if I got somebody ready to go, I got to strike while the iron's hot. So